You know that feeling where you're not where you want to be, but it's also not terrible either? And you're just sort of in this weird gray area where you know you can be better, but it's also not bad enough for you to really get out of your comfort zone to have to change that either. Well, today I want to share Dom's story. He found himself in this position after going through some pretty tragic life events, and he got himself out of it. And so hopefully this will inspire some of you guys out there to do the same. So to give some context, Dom basically lost someone that he loved. And in the process of grieving, he lost himself. He stopped looking after himself, he started drinking more, he stopped working out consistently, he stopped eating right. And he felt like he was starting to go down a spiral where he was just making bad decisions or poor decisions that didn't really encourage a healthy lifestyle for himself. Now, this is a very unfamiliar situation for Dom. He works in the military, so he's no stranger to working out, being disciplined, having good habits, eating right. And so this threw his life basically completely around. He went from being this version of him that was happy, looking after himself, working out, eating right, moving more, to now falling down this slump where he was grieving, he didn't look after himself, and he started to lose sight of who he was. Now he stayed here for a little bit, until one day he sat down and asked himself, is this really the life that I want to continue living? Is this really the person that the loved one that he lost would want him to be? And that's where everything's flipped. He decided to change his life. He realized that this wasn't the person that he wanted to be, and he didn't want to continue living life this way. But the tricky thing was, he wasn't in a position where he was dying because of his decisions. He wasn't morbidly obese. He could still do the things he wanted to do. And so, like I said at the start of this video, he found himself in that position where it wasn't terrible, but also wasn't great either. And so he felt stuck. He tried on his own, get some momentum, only to fall short again. And so for another period of his life, he was just drifting. It wasn't who he wanted to be, but it also wasn't who he knew he could be either. So after some time, he finally made that decision that he was going to change his ways. He decided that this was not the person he wanted to be anymore, and he was going to do whatever it took to get himself out of this rut that he found himself in. I'll be honest, me and Dom connected on the call right away. I felt for him. I heard his story, and I knew that this was someone that was going to change their life and was committed to the whole process of changing their life. And so I already knew he was going to be a great client. But even more importantly, I knew I was going to feel a massive sense of fulfillment being part of this journey and getting himself out of this position. One of the biggest things about Dom is that he was an action taker. He did not hesitate. Now, I might have hesitated in the past, but when he made this commitment that was ready to change his life, he did not hesitate. He did what was necessary. He joined the team, he got the help, and now he started to get things on the right track. He expressed to me on our first call, it was time for him to be proud of himself again. He didn't want to kick himself while he was down any longer. And so here's what we did. Very, very straightforward. He hit the gym 3 times a week. We taught him how to eat properly, how to fuel his body with the right nutrients so that he felt more energy, trained harder, had more day-to-day mental clarity, and more importantly, was able to lose the fat that he had gained from that period of his life. We instilled discipline back into his life. We instilled structure back into his life. No more just doing what he felt like, waking up, doing the same thing, not really having any direction on what he wanted to do or any sort of direction on what goals he was chasing. We gave him clarity in terms of who he wanted to be and what were the milestones that were required of him to get there. And more importantly, we celebrated the wins with him. We made sure we were the backbone of his fitness journey. Whenever he noticed that he got stronger in the gym, he'd tell us and we'd be amped up about it, making sure we knew that we were happy as for him. When he noticed that his clothes were fitting differently, we were just as excited as he was. We made sure that he knew he was supported whilst on this team and that he was no longer alone in this journey to becoming the best that he could be. And by doing these things, giving him support, encouragement, clarity in training, clarity in his food, what ended up happening is we taught him how to make health a priority in his life again. And guess where he is now? Here are a few of the highlights of Dom's journey so far with us. He's completely transformed his physique. He's the leanest and strongest he's ever been in his life, far exceeding his own expectations when he first joined this program. He did his first high rocks. He's now starting to run topless in his spare time on the weekends because he feels so good in his skin. He feels proud of the body that he's in now. He's even taken it as far as wanting to compete in his first physique competition next year. Not because he necessarily is obsessed with his physique, but because he wanted to challenge himself. He's now at a point where he came from being in a slump, not looking after himself, to now pushing the envelope when it comes to his discipline, his commitment, and his willingness to make himself uncomfortable, all stemming from the fact that he knows what it feels like to not feel like himself, to know what it feels like to be in a rut, to eat poorly, to have low energy, to not feel confident, to not be proud of his habits. He knows what all that feels like. And so now he makes it his mission to never go back there again. And I'm very confident to say this man is never going back there ever again. No matter what he's going to go through, no matter what adversity comes his way, no matter what troubles he's going to run into, I am so confident to say that Dom has fully instilled what we've taught him to make it a lifelong habit for the rest of his life. Now here's the story of Dom going through a heartbreaking event in his life, going through a period where he lost himself, forgot what it meant to be himself, realizing that he needed to change, making that decision to change, following through completely, and now exceeded his own expectations of what discipline looked like for him and also how much he could achieve with the right people in his corner. He's now living the life that he's always wanted, making himself proud, making the ones around him proud, inspiring other people around him. That's how much his life changed in a matter of a few months. And that's how much your life can change in a matter of a few months as well. And so if you feel like in the same position, it doesn't have to be that you lost someone. It could be you just feel the same way that Dom felt in that moment in his life. You feel stuck. You feel like it's okay and that you can keep pushing this off for a little bit longer and it won't get worse. But then it also bothers you that you're not living the life that you know you could be. Just know you're only a few months away from completely transforming how you look, how you feel, how you live, and what sort of example you're leading for others. And so if this story resonated with you and you do feel like you're in the same position, feeling complacent, feeling stuck, where that version of you that you want to be is a little bit further away than you'd like, click the link below. Reach out. Let's see what we can do to help you get you out of this.